Welcome to another week of board game reviews. This week we have Red Outpost. We've been playing this several times. It's an interesting game, so stay tuned. A long time ago, in a communist settlement far, far away.
No. We'll get in trouble.
Well, thank you, Mr. Lucas. Well, welcome again to another week of Specular Board Game Reviews. This week we got Red Outpost, which was a recent Kickstarter that I received, and we've now played the game at several player counts and got some opinions for you.
Some
differing opinions. So stay tuned for that. But before we do that, we're going to do our usual overview. If you'd like to take it away, Max.
Yes, Red Outpost is a game designed by, and I apologize in advance, Roman Hryyork, with art by Irina Pechenkina and Maxim Slyemanov. Red Outpost is going to take place on an extraterrestrial communist settlement where players are competing to become the only true leader by influencing different workers throughout the community. The game takes place over 2 rounds or days. There are 5 phases to a round. There is the morning phase, the day phase part 1, the lunch phase, the day phase part 2, electric boogaloo, and then the evening phase. On a player's turn, they're going to move a worker to one of the 12 locations, lay it down, and then place one of their influence markers on that worker's portrait, and then adjust their mood accordingly. Then they are going to take the location's action. In this case, it's a pasture, so they're going to make a wheat. Some locations will be blocked depending on what phase of the game you're in. Some locations, like the pasture, will produce resources, and some locations will let you spend those resources for points. All locations in this game are going to affect a worker's mood, depending on which location you go to and with which worker you go there with. At the end of the first round, there's going to be a scoring phase where you'll get points depending on who has the majority of influence on a worker. And then there's going to be a reset phase where you reset all of the influence markers and all of the workers' moods to 0. And then you play the second round. At the end of the evening phase on the second day, the game is over, and you will then have some final scoring and tally up the points, and the player with the most points wins. And
Points.
That's Red Outpost. What do you think, Ryan?
Well, first, thank you, Max. That was a good overview. I first want to say about the artwork here, as our usual thing to start with art. I really love this art. It's really cool. It's like a lot of some of the other games that we really like. It kind of has this stylized, almost like painting feeling on it.
It looks like a painting.
Yeah, and it definitely it feels like the theme. Like it fits with this like communist, or like you're part of this settlement that everyone is together, right? And it has some of like this. Like, what am I trying to say? The fact that you're on a new settlement, but you got here through a spaceship, right? So there's still there's a spaceship here. Some of the buildings are a bit more advanced, but it's still not quite as advanced.
Yeah,
it still feels like a new settlement.
The government building's still under construction. You can see it's very detailed, and it's very it feels like a real little town.
Yeah. And so I really like it.
Yeah, they even got little plates on the food benches, and the benches are all together, like they're eating all together, like a community. The theme comes through.
Yeah, and the theme it's supposed to be this communist theme, right? But it doesn't you don't really get that sense. I mean, it's just kind of everyone putting all the resources together and working together. Everyone has this obviously the same workers, but it's almost like you're just sort of working together, trying to build up this community rather than it just being a communist community, right?
Yeah, it's mostly like it's kind of almost like an area majority game. Like,
I mean, yeah, a little bit, yeah.
yeah, you're sharing all your resources and you're sharing the workers, but it's almost more just for blocking. It's an odd, like, yeah, the theme kind of ties, yeah, it comes through in the art. I feel like it, but you could probably have done this game with any theme. I don't know. I like it. I like it, but but yeah. So the art's good. All the people look like old paintings too.
Yeah.
It's a very good board, well designed. My only complaint maybe with the design of the board is some of the icons on the board are just a little bit small. Like I almost wish it was a little bit bigger, but like
Yeah.
it's not that bad, and it is really easy to grasp once you start playing the game. It's just some of the iconography is a little small, but it comes in this little box, which is shocking compared to some of the games we've been getting recently, which the boxes are like this big. Like when I saw this box, I was like, oh my gosh! Like if you saw this on it, you would walk right past this on a shelf. It's
You
it's
wouldn't even
such
notice
a
it.
tiny box, but it doesn't need to be huge, and like the board doesn't need to be this massive. Like it all flows really well, and it's all right there within easy reach, and I really like that. Like,
Yeah, it doesn't have this massive table presence like some of the other games that we've reviewed or played. So obviously I have the deluxe version of this. So a lot of the components here are upgraded. They have the custom resource wooden pieces. All the people are really cool because they all are their own shape, and you can kind of tell who is who. The fisherman, the miner, they all are very unique. I will say they upgraded all these, but then the tokens for determining which sites are available during the morning and the night are just cardboard, and there's 6 of them. Why did these not just also get screen printed?
He was very angry
I was
about
very upset with that. I'm like, you literally had 6 left. You could have just made these wooden. Like,
yeah,
that bothered me because
I guess all
everything.
these are, yeah.
Yeah, because you got these.
The
all
influence markers
are all screen printed. Like, just I don't know. It bothered me a lot.
But all the other I mean, like it's I feel like I mean it's not like the fish look like little fish. I feel like that's kind of becoming the norm now for upgraded components. But I mean like these could have just been blue cubes, but it's nice, and you got
They
like,
are blue cubes
crystals in the
retail.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I guess they were. They could have been, and they were. But yeah, it's everything's good quality. I don't care that these are cardboard. Ryan does. I don't care. You're literally just flipping them over once in the game, so it's not huge. But other than that, like with some of the iconography, I think like components wise, this game is great.
Some of the iconography could be a little confusing when like determining which influence are going up and down depending on the workers that are going there. It might not be immediately.
Yeah, it's odd. So they'll have the space, and it has like a happiness bubble. So it's like everyone gains happiness, and then they'll have an X through maybe the shepherd, and so it's like everyone gains happiness except for him. But it is a little confusing when you first are looking at it. But I mean, like it's such a simple game. It makes sense, and when you understand sort of the theme of it, like okay, everyone's sad except for the farmer when she goes to farm the wheat or whatever, like the theme of it makes more sense than the iconography does some of the time, but it's such a simple game that it's not that confusing. Like it could have maybe made a little bit more sense. I feel like it been streamlined, but it works.
Sure. So I guess then the next important part of the game is the mechanics. What are your thoughts?
I really like this game. I was super interested when I heard about this game. I thought it was a cool idea. I watched some rules and and read the rule book, and I thought, where's the game in this game? Like it just seemed really boring. I didn't understand how the interaction was going to work, and just reading the rule book, it's not a bad rule book, but it just doesn't really, I feel like, push the interactiveness in the game doesn't come through. About one round or two into the game, it clicked for me, and I was like, oh wow, like there is so much like interactiveness in this game where you can block people or take the person that they want, or fight for area majority, or block them on this board, or screw them over by they're getting a lot of points on this guy. Will you use that worker to go to a place to make their morale drop down? Like there is a lot to this game, and about one or two turns in, I was hooked, and we played it over and over. However, we played it starting with 4 players, which you had a problem with.
Yeah, I did not care for 4 players. It felt, because 4 players has a weird turn order, there will be several turns in each day that 2 people will get 2 turns and 2 of them will only get 1. And I felt like I didn't feel like I had a whole lot of control of what's going on. And this game is very much about control and exactly which piece you want to use and when.
It's all about timing.
Yeah, and with it being some rounds that you only get 1 person, you can end up feeling really screwed. And let's just say 2 people end up teaming up on 1 person to like really knock down those points. They can't do anything because they may only have 1 turn that round.
Yeah,
it just felt like I just didn't feel like I was actually able to push back or do something for myself.
Because the game plays in 2 days, so I believe in a 4-player game, one day you're going to get 2 turns, and then the next day there's going to be phases where you're only going to get 1 turn. So you're either going to kind of have some advantage in the beginning of the game or some advantage at the end of the game, and depending on which side of that spectrum you're on, it can feel pretty you can feel pretty hamstrung. It didn't bother me as much. I definitely concede the problem that you have with it. It was very interesting and different to me, but I think I did prefer it at 3. At 2-player and 3-player, you're going to get everyone's going to get an even amount of turns every day phase, whereas in the 4-player game, it's going to have that odd sort of different turn thing, which I don't love. I would still play this at 4 players just because it's odd enough. It's odd. It's just different. But I would prefer it at 3, and it also plays very fast at 3. Like
yes,
it takes a while probably to you can learn the game real quick, but mastering it. Bram won every game. We lost. He's won every game of it so far. I don't know how either. Like I've tried different strategies. I feel like I'm still looking forward to more plays of this. Like after having played it several times, I still want to play it.
I picked up on it a little bit more at 3 players. I know the first time when we did that 4 players, I was very hesitant about playing again. I just was not feeling it.
You ready to get rid of it right
Yeah,
away?
I was like, I really don't know how I feel about it. And I was like, well, you know what? I want to give it at least one more try and try it at 3, understanding that everyone's going to get the same amount of turns at 3 players, and I liked it a lot more. I got that feeling of more control and didn't feel like there was nothing I could do to really bring myself back up, get myself some more points. It definitely felt a lot better at 3. Yeah. I will probably refuse to play this at 4. I don't like the feeling. I really liked it at 3.
What did you think about that? Because there's some variable player powers that you can add into it. You can either have the workers, each person has a specific worker that has a special power, or a specific location that has a special power. I know Aiden wanted it without that. He wanted just a neutral, everybody's on the same playing field type feel. I kind of liked the player.
Yeah.
The worker powers, I wasn't so much sold on the location powers. I mean, I could play with both. I think I would like to just play with the workers. It would add the worker powers. It adds a little bit of variation, but I also like the game just vanilla without any sort of player powers too. I kind of think it shines at all of them. But
I really like asymmetric player powers a lot in games. We haven't played it yet with the player powers at 3 players. I want to try it that way. I like both the players and location powers that you can get. And I think it's probably better to actually draft them rather than just randomly. I think the rulebook just says to in your first just randomly pass them out, one to each person, and you can definitely kind of get screwed if they don't quite line up. So drafting it feels like you at least have a bit more control of it. You can kind of think of what strategy you want to then employ. I guess what I really like about asymmetric powers, it gives you sort of a direction to kind of go and sort of tailor yourself to what you want to do that game, which I really like. It kind of helps focus myself a little bit more instead of like wanting to try to do a bunch of different things or potentially two different strategies where you can go, okay, if my white guy is getting a lot of power, let me try to at least use him more and maybe how do I use him properly.
Right, it gives you a direction to go, and whereas without the player powers, you kind of going with whatever seems advantageous at the time. With the player powers, you definitely have an incentive to go with a specific worker or a specific location, which can also make people take that from you.
Yeah, definitely. But so obviously some of these locations where, let's just say the what was this one again? The
Town hall.
Yeah, the like bureaucracy hall. If anyone else but the gray goes there, the gray goes up one and gets to move the discs around on the people. And that's a very strategic time of when you want to play certain guys down into that, so that either jumping gray up could be beneficial to you, but also you're just like, I want to take gray here, but gray's not going to get that happiness or be able to bump. And it's like that play on when you use the certain people and move them over to some of these different locations, that player powers kind of change it a little bit, right? And you might like without it, it's kind of like there's very certain times of when to do certain people, right? You're kind of moving to certain locations because everyone's the same. But now that you got player powers, you're going to kind of think of it a little differently, right? Because now you can do a little bit different, break the game a little bit,
right?
That you don't necessarily have to like kind of go with that, like I guess a flow of the game, right? Because you can kind of figure out this flow of like when to do things, when not to do things, right? Pushing up, pushing down the influence on certain of the workers.
Every player power gives a sort of game breaking, rule breaking ability. Mine, the one I played with was yellow. Normally you can't go to the same spot, but if you use the yellow worker, you go to the same spot as somebody else. I don't know that any of them are more overpowered than the other. They seem like they all kind of break the game in a way. I think if you were able to randomly draw player power and a location power that just happened to click together, that might be overpowered. So I do think drafting would be a good idea once you've sort of learned the game better. But if you're just playing with player powers, you could probably just pass them out. But I do think it is really nice that they added them, because I think after, I think every game of this will play out differently, especially with different groups. I'm not saying it would like get stale necessarily, but it just adds a little bit more flavor to if you want some variability in the game.
I can kind of see this starting to get stale after a while, especially if you don't play with player powers. I'm interested to see if they're going to do an expansion for this. It could because you definitely as you start to learn some of these spaces and when to do it, you kind of know when you just want to do it, like go to these certain spaces, right, at certain times. That it feels like after so many plays of this, it would eventually get a bit stale.
Maybe I do think. I don't
know that there's enough variability.
The variability in the it sort of comes in with the time tokens, whether certain areas are locked down during the morning or certain areas are locked down during the night. That will change it, that you just can't go anywhere whenever you want. And then also depending on who you're playing with and what their incentives is throughout the game, you might want to go to the town hall location to bump up the gray players' morale. But if somebody's there, depending on when you are in turn order, because timing is everything in this game, you might not be able to. Our last game, there was tons of times where I wanted to go to this location, but I was first and there was a person there and I couldn't go there. So that's where I feel like there's quite a bit of replayability in this. I think if you played it 50, 100 times, whatever, a lot of times with the same group, it could end up being stale like any game. But I do think for what it is, I was pleasantly surprised with how the gameplay turned out and the interaction in the game and a meanness. It's not really like super mean, but it can be a little feel bad if like you've made.
I mean, it can be pretty mean.
Yeah, I guess
I mean,
it
yeah,
can
'cause
be,
you
but
could-
it's like any area control. Like,
But like targeting something, like you're like, well, I know you have just say 2 influence. You have you have the most influence in the red person. You're just like, you know what? This space over here is -2. I'm okay putting my 1 influence over here just to knock this down 2.
Yeah.
And I mean, it could feel pretty bad. Like you're just like you. Oh my god, I hate you.
Yeah,
there is multiple times you did that to me.
Well,
And
yeah,
I was
of
like,
course.
you. Oh,
but
hate
you know, it's such a low score. I mean, the score track only goes up to 33. I think
yeah,
the
this
highest
is
we
very
got was
tight.
like 26. When you're like when you're gaining 1 point and then someone bumps you down -2 and like then you're only losing a point, it sucks. But it doesn't feel like.
But it,
in like I don't know, some sort of war game where somebody blows up your entire fleet or something.
Yeah.
Like it is in a game where you're only scoring 20 to 25 points. It is a pretty dramatic swing, but to me it doesn't. It's not as like feel bad in the sense of like it's a 1 point swing. It is more impactful because points are very rare in this, but to me it doesn't feel bad as a game that comparative where like they can blow up your whole turn.
Yeah, but I mean, even if like just 2 of the workers, some like just people end up knocking it all the way down to the negatives, that can be extremely detrimental in this game because these are it's such a low scoring game, and it's very tight. They can make like it could be a very big impact on the game. And there was, I think, like in the 4-player game that we played, you guys, I don't know, you and Aiden or you and Bram, I can't remember, but they like knocked 2 of my things down into the negatives and put me like way behind everyone. And really, there was pretty much no chance for me after that.
Oh, that was our second.
Yeah.
Well, in our first game, 3 players tied, and 1 player was only like 2 points ahead, and then the next game, 2 players tied also. Like it is a tight system. Like so yeah, I recommend it. I think it's a real fun puzzle. Once you kind of learn it, I think our first game took us a little bit working out the iconography and whatnot. But by our second game, and especially like our 3-player game, I think we got it done in like half hour, maybe 40 minutes. Like it moves quick.
Yeah, because it's what was it in 3 players? It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 14 total actions. Yeah, and there's very few spaces that you actually can go to choose from. So it's not like you can't AP too hard or too long. I mean, you can AP because you're trying to find which of the 4 spaces are
going to give
best.
You a point or take away a point from somebody.
Yeah, but obviously then it is only a few spaces that you're going to like try to math out. So it isn't too bad.
It is a little bit
really
of a
quick.
mathy game, but I really enjoyed my playthrough. I was like I said, pleasantly surprised after reading the rules and then actually playing it. I recommend Red Outpost. I really enjoyed my plays, and I definitely play it anytime.
Yeah, I was really disappointed at the 4 when I was like, oh no, am I going to want to get rid of this game? And was like, I was very excited for it, but very glad that we played it again at 3, and now I want to play again.
Yeah,
because of it, and so I'm very happy about that.
Yeah,
I'm very glad that I still can get a good feeling from this game, and I don't get the same feeling from 4 to 3.
Yeah, and I know Aiden and Bram were like immediately like, well, if you're gonna get rid of it, we'll buy it. They really liked it too. So yeah, I think it's a good one. So we give it I don't know if you give it, but I give it the light bulb seal of approval. Hugh does it maybe 3 players.
Yeah, I need more plays. I need some more plays of this. I'm very curious to see 2, how that does.
Yeah,
what the tension it looks like at 2.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think from what I'm thinking about like how the worker interaction here works, I think I'm gonna like 3 more just because there is that push and pull among everybody, right?
Yeah, and it's really fun when you can knock 2 opponents into negative that you're not.
Yeah.
It is a fun little manipulation in this game.
Yeah. Any other final thoughts, Max?
No. No. How's everyone doing? Still in the pandemic.
Yeah. Hopefully everyone's doing good.
Yeah. Well, I do want to say thank you to everybody who's been watching. We've had sort of somewhat of a uptick in our views and whatnot. I've been trying to be more present on social media and whatnot. Yeah. But we've been having some positive feedback, and And yeah, so I just want to say thank you to everyone who's been watching the channel and you know, looking at our Instagram and whatnot. It's been a lot of fun to still continue doing this. So
Yeah,
we really appreciate it.
very much so. And we're planning just a thank you for our supporters and people we didn't expect to kind of like have this much support so quick. So we are really appreciative that we're just going to do a fun giveaway. As once we get to 100 subscribers, we'll put out a little video to tell you what it's about. So stay tuned for that. Share the video to let others enjoy the content too. So thank you, everyone. Max, where can people find you?
People can find me at Chimmons, Chimmons, on Instagram.
And you can find me at ryan.gebi, Gebi, on Instagram too. Yeah, thank you guys. We'll see you later.
Thank you.
Bye.